Well, thank you for joining us today as we continue on in our pursuit of getting unstuck. That's what this time is all about, is helping you get unstuck, moving forward in life in what has been, for many of us, a really difficult season. It has been a challenging experience for a lot of people. And so what we want to do today is start looking at the practical steps of what we do to get unstuck. Last week we talked about the first step is trusting in a who, not in a how, because that's the foundation. The foundation is a trust in God, a trust in Jesus, as opposed to trusting in your own understanding, leaning on your own understanding. But now, what I want to do is I want us to go into some practical application along with that. How do I continue forward? How do I get unstuck? And stuck happens to all of us. You know, stuck happens to everyone. There's not a person that I know who doesn't at some point get stuck in. What can really happen quickly is we can get stuck in situations that we never plan on getting stuck in. In fact, that's usually how stuck happens. It's not like people say, hey, I'm really hoping that I'm going to one day get stuck in my career. People usually aren't saying, you know, I was hoping that I would get stuck in a bad relationship. People aren't usually looking at life and saying, I hope that I get stuck in toxic thinking and that I limit myself from the potential that God's placed inside of me. That's not usually how people approach life, how they approach faith, how they approach what they ultimately want in life. You know, I remember specifically in my teenage years, for me, when I felt stuck, there was something that I consistently went to, and for me, it was music. Now, I'm just going to age myself in this moment. I'm going to let you know a little bit about where I am in life, because I remember at a very young age, at a very young age, well, let's just say in my middle school years, in my teenage years. Man, I can't believe I'm saying this happened in my teenage years, but it did. I would actually, when I was stuck in my feelings, I would go to our family's, I would take it to my bedroom, our family's lavender purple QT50 Sharp AM FM radio cassette player. And there was a thing at the time that was called a mixtape. And the way that a mixtape works is that you would get your play button and the record button both pressed down, and then you would have the pause button set so that you would be listening to the radio. And the way it worked was that when your song came on the radio, you would jam your thumb down on the pause button, and it would begin to record the track that was playing on the radio. See, some of y'all don't know how complex it was back in the day. Like, you didn't just get to stream what you wanted on Spotify whenever. Like, you actually had to wait to create a mixtape. So when somebody gave you a mixtape, it was a big deal. And I remember waiting for that magical moment in my life as I was stuck in my feelings, when I could finally hear the beautiful sound of Britney Spears singing Baby One More Time. Jam my thumb down on the pause button and begin to record the mixtape. This is what I've learned as the years have gone on, is that a lot of us actually have a mixtape that's happening inside of our mind. And instead of us listening in to music, it was actually like it was like we were sitting there with our precious hearts at a young age. We had the play button and the record button pressed down. And in the moment when somebody, whether it was somebody who was older than us, maybe a family member, maybe somebody you looked up to, but they said something to you, and in that moment you jammed your thumb down on the pause button. And what happened was you recorded a message, your heart recorded a message about how you see yourself. And that message may have sounded like, you'll never amount to anything in life. You don't have what it takes. You're not smart enough, strong enough, or attractive enough. Nobody is going to want to spend time with you. And these mixtapes get locked into our hearts, and they often play in our minds with or without our permission. That's the danger of the mixtape. What I'm concerned about is that as time goes on, we might spend our lives listening to the wrong message and get stuck in a cycle, stuck in a constant circle of a message that was imprinted on our hearts at a young age. And today, what I want to do is help you break out of a message that may have been holding you back. So let me ask you, what is burning inside of you? You know, like that dream inside, that passion inside that has you wanting more in life. Like, what is that thing inside of you that is burning for more? You may not talk to anybody else about it, but it's happening on the inside. It may be in your walk with God. You're like, man, I've always wanted to have a walk with God where I understood when he was speaking to me. I wanted to recognize his voice. I've wanted to walk with him closely. I've wanted to have a relationship that's out of love and not out of legalism. Like, there are things that I want with God. And then for some of you as well, like it's actually like, I've got this dream inside of me that for years I've been thinking about stepping out on, but I just can't quite summon up the courage, and it seems like I'll always be stuck in where I was. And for some, it's the relationship that you're stuck in. You didn't plan on getting there, but you've been stuck there, and it gets really toxic. And for some of you, if you were really honest, you might even acknowledge that it's been an abusive relationship, and you're stuck in something, but you're not quite sure how to go forward. And what do I do in this moment when I'm stuck? Because we all get stuck. We all get stuck. And what you need in your life is you need a point of no return. You need a point of no return. Something that actually is it's the moment when you drive a stake in the sand. You say, this point, I am moving forward and I'm not going back to where I was. It's a point of no return. And throughout history, how this would actually work in ancient times. Some of you have probably heard the story. It's most often associated with Cortez. Now, I'm not going to say that Cortez is a figure that you want to model your life after, because Cortez isn't exactly known as a great human being. This story is often attributed to him, but it was actually something that generals throughout different cultures globally would do. And that is when they were moving into a new place, if they were going in to engage in battle, if they were going in to expand their territory, if they were going in with a focused goal, what they would do is they would actually, as they had sailed from where they were to a new land, what they would do in a point of no return is they would burn their own ships. They would tell their soldiers to burn their own ships. And the reason that they would do this is that their own ships were their escape. As long as you're looking for your escape, you won't experience the life that God has for you. But when you tap back into what's inside of you, what's burning within you, then you'll set fire to anything that's holding you back from turning your potential into purpose. You won't stay stuck in what was, but instead you'll move forward into what could be and what will be, and it becomes a different pursuit in life. To move forward and to not have an escape route, to not look back, you have to burn the ships. I think for a lot of us, the reason that we don't burn the ships is because, well, we're so used to using escapes. And we're so used to not fulfilling our potential. And we're so used to not actually going after what we want in life that we've become very familiar. It's become very convenient for us to go back to what was, to escape the situation. What I love about Jesus is this, because whether you or I, whether we are stuck in like a bad diet, whether we're stuck in a bad relationship, whether you're stuck miserable in a career that you don't want, whether you're stuck in unemployment currently, whether you're like whatever you are stuck in, some of you are stuck at home and feeling the effect of everything going on in our country at this time. Maybe for some people what they need is they've been stuck in racism for so long that they need to burn the convenient escapes and messages that they've had for a long time. When you've been stuck, the way forward is to burn the ships. And Jesus knew this. This is what I love about Jesus. And what challenges me so much about Jesus is that Jesus doesn't want us to do this half-hearted thing with him in life where we're halfway in and halfway out. What he actually says is in Luke chapter 9, verse 23, he says this to everybody who might go back to a place of being stuck. What he says is, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. So if anybody wants to be my disciple, how it starts is they actually must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. They must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. It's very simple, but it's not easy to do. In fact, what I found is that for most of us, when we get into a place of, well, Lord, like I really want to follow you, but I know that this isn't going to be convenient for me. So some days I'm in, and some days I'm kind of in. And if I was really honest, some days I'm out. Because I'd rather do what I want than follow you. If anyone wants to be my disciple, they must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, and follow me. This is a different kind of path in life. It's not the convenient path. It's not the path that most people are going to challenge you towards. Because a lot of people, when you have a difficult time, when you're stuck, what they're going to say is, it's okay, just stay where you are. Well, how's that working for you? To quote to quote Dr. Phil, how's that working for you? If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you always got. If you want something different, you got to do something different. I believe that what Jesus is saying applies completely to how we follow him, and it's also an approach to how you live life. Like if you really want to go after something in life, you have to deny yourself from the way that you've been doing things before. You have to push back the old self. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, those hamburger and fries sound really good, but that diet isn't working for me, and I know in the afternoon I don't feel good, so I'm going to deny myself. I know I'm going to push it back. I know that, it's comforting to have somebody in my life. But the problem is they're actually really toxic. So I've got to deny that part of me that wants to hang on. I got to push back. I got to push that part of me out so I can move forward. Like, this is what happens to us. If anybody wants to be my disciple, if anybody wants to live the way that I'm living, if anybody wants to be what I'm about, if anybody wants to do what I'm doing, they must deny themselves, take up their cross daily. They don't just deny themselves sometimes, but they take up their cross daily. Taking up your cross daily is hard. Like, I wish Jesus would have just put in there a little clause, like the parentheses thing that people put sometimes when they're writing you something. Like, if anybody wants to be my disciple, they must deny themselves, take up their cross daily, except when you have a bad day. Like, take up your cross daily, except when your boss is being a little bit angry towards you. Take up your cross daily, except in the moments when you're just a little tired. Take up your cross daily, except when you don't feel like it. Take up your cross daily, except when the kids have been really rowdy. Take up your cross daily, except when it's inconvenient for you to speak up about it because some people are going to push back and you're not going to have the position of influence that you had before. Take up your cross daily, except when you're going to lose favor with people because you choose to follow me instead of following the ways of men. It's a point of no return.